Good afternoon, my friends. This is Paul, and on today's episode of ISTJ Info Dumping, we're going to be discussing what it's like when an ISTJ has a crush on someone or are in love, because there's kind of a big difference, at least in our mind, because we like to compartmentalize everything. Having a crush on is more or less infatuation or a potential interest, whereas in love is like they can see a future, they can see kids, they really think that this is a wonderful option. And it's also not lust. It's like not entirely just based on attraction. It's like legitimately seeing a connection. So I thought it would be best if I gave you a little bit of a demonstration, sort of a before and after, so that can help the rest of my explanation flow a lot smoother. So, as Professor Layton would say, have a look. So, have you intuitive types overanalyzed both pictures, paused the video to see if there's a slight pixel out of whack? Well, guess what? The only difference is that I wrote different text in them. Because there is no difference. ISTJs, first and foremost, are tertiary introverted feelers. So, just in case you're not too well versed on your functionology, that means most of our emotions are deep in here as opposed to being externalized like the extroverted feelers. So rather than say wearing their heart on their sleeve, ew, they would prefer to wear their heart where everyone else wears their heart, inside their chest, where it's pumping blood to the rest of the body and the brain is processing the information the heart is giving, and vice versa. So if an ISTJ is staring their crush right in the face, their facial expressions probably won't change and their body language won't give any indications. This is especially infuriating in ISTJ-INFJ relationships because INFJs are typically pretty good at reading between the lines. They're typically really good at scanning people with their X-ray vision and saying, I have come to a conclusion. But with ISTJs, that seems to be their big blind spot, because if this is the ISTJ function stack, this is the INFJs. Completely reverse. So, let me give you an example of this, of when I was having a crush on an INFJ in my own personal life, and show you how ridiculously oblivious she was. Either that or that's just her, I don't know. But it does seem to be a pattern with other INFJs I know. So I was with a bunch of my friends, and at the time I thought I was still ESTJ and super outgoing. And I was like, alright guys, so I'm not the type of person that advertises my romantic relationships because I could be staring at the person I have a crush on right now and she wouldn't even notice. Turns out she didn't notice. After I finally broke the news to her, she was like, you had a crush on me that whole time? Oh my gosh, I would have never figured it out. 'Cause she never saw it coming. Never gets old. Using Persona 5 as a reference. I still haven't even played that game. And so, likely if you're an INFJ and you have to question, does the ISTJ have a crush on me? Chances are you're probably wrong. The only way I could see you possibly guessing correctly is if just you happen to have I believe it's called the anthropic principle, where by circumstance you could be right if you guess enough times to eventually get to the 1%. So you could theoretically just make a wild shot in the dark and happen to be right. Although I don't think that's particularly the preference your type likes to take. I think you like to make educated guesses. The best way to figure out if an ISTJ has a crush on you or not is just to ask. Just say, yo, you crushing on me or whatnot? Now, the ISTJ will typically give one of two responses if it turns out that you are correct in your assumption. If you say, do you have a crush on me? And the answer is no, the ISTJ will be like, well, no offense to you, but it wouldn't be the most practical thing at the moment. If they haven't developed their extroverted skills, they'll probably just say, what gave you that impression? And they'll probably give kind of they'll probably give the kind of vibe of like, are you stupid or something? Why would you think such a thing like that? Thinking as though it should be obvious to anyone what a crush is supposed to be and the logical implications of what to do with a crush as opposed to just having it. Now, if you're right, the ISTJ will probably stammer and stutter and not necessarily know how to advance because love is not a rational thing. So they'll have to sort out what are all these feelings I'm experiencing and how do I put them into practical action. They'll probably say, like, oh, yes, as a matter of fact, I do have a crush on you, but I have to give it some time to think about whether or not this is the right course of action because, there's always the possibility of divorce or annulment or breaking up or death or miscarriages, and they'll probably think of every single thing wrong and delay the relationship as long as possible. It really helps if the ISTJ is given something familiar to give them a reason to pursue a relationship because, like I said, even if they are crushing on someone, they'll take their time not because they can't grow a spine like you people might be thinking, but it's because they are actually deeply thinking about it. And even if they think, oh, you're a really great person and I think we have amazing chemistry, but budgeting, driving distance, communication, sorry, but logically speaking, no, it doesn't work. Now, as far as what you can look at to see if an ISTJ is having a crush or not, it'll be more likely to come out by their words rather than by their actions. Now, if I didn't make this clear in my intro, let me make this doubly clear right now. This video that I'm doing is probably the most subjective of all ISTJ info dumping videos I've done so far. If there's one thing where you can imagine that every single ISTJ is going to be different, it's in crushing. However, I think it's fair to say, based on my own experience and based on what I've observed from other ISTJs, they're likely going to act as though nothing is different, and that in and of itself is the difference because they're reluctant to share their feelings. So if anything, they're probably going to pretend that they don't have feelings as a way of avoiding that confrontation of presenting that they have emotions. Because, I don't know, they might be embarrassed. They might say, oh, me? Romance? Ew, that's emotion. That's making me weak. But if an ISTJ is having a conversation with someone they love, they will probably act totally casual. They won't like sweat or perspire or anything. They'll probably just be their usual polite, butlerish self. And they might even ask if there's anything they can do for the person. I mean, that's how they act to begin with. But generally, when an ISTJ has a deep connection with someone, they really want to milk that out for all that it's worth. So if an ISTJ really, really trusts you and admires you and likes you, they're going to pursue it, but that doesn't necessarily have to be in a romantic setting. So you could very well see an ISTJ talking to their platonic friend and an ISTJ talking to their crush and asking them the exact same questions. Because first and foremost, connections first, physical action later. They may go up to, say, a girl that is already in a relationship and say, you want to hang out? Go up to their crush and say, you want to hang out? In the exact same connotation. Now, as far as how an ISTJ is in terms of intimacy and how they will express their love, that's also going to vary between ISTJs because that also depends on how much temperance they have. But generally speaking, ISTJs are typically pretty good at reining in their temptations because they don't have extroverted sensing. So unlike, say, the INTJs and the INFJs, where they're going to be like, I tried holding it in, but sex! The ISTJ is going to say, well, I've never had sex before, so what if it's like this super terrible experience and I'm going to ruin my life by doing it? They're not going to be the type that's going to jump for joy at the prospect of physical interaction. There are some ISTJs that absolutely despise even just giving a hug, and so that's really all going to depend on their personal preferences. Other ISTJs love hugs, but they don't like getting hugs from just about anyone, so they'll want to make sure they have a deep connection first. So How can you go about asking an ISTJ to reveal how they're really feeling? Because extroverted feeling is their polar function, meaning it's the one that they struggle with the most in both understanding, expressing, and seeing other people use it. For starters, I feel like I'm a broken record at this point. In just about every info dumping video, just ask. Just be blunt about it and say, do you have feelings for me? Or don't you? Because, again, you're probably not going to be able to spot the difference if you compare how they are around their friends versus how they are around you. It's not going to make that much of a difference. At the end of the day, you're either going to have to ask, or the ISTJ will have to have developed their extroverted intuition enough to make the leap into this unknown territory of romance and socialization, and trying to develop their fifth function, extroverted sensing, which means that they actually have to take action for all of these physical sensations that they're seeing, as opposed to being hesitant about them because, oh no, I haven't done this before, so I better not ever do this, which is typically the ISTJ's mindset. Also, if you are trying to flirt with an ISTJ, let me give you some advice on how to make it successful. Don't. You see, ISTJs don't like flirting because they see it as inauthentic, and they also see it as desperate. They see flirting as, why don't you just tell me that you like me, rather than trying to do all these gestures, because they'll see that as, okay, why are you smiling like that? Did you just get a birthday present? Did you just get a raise at your job? Like, why are you smiling at me any differently than you would anyone else? They also won't like it if you try to like subtly make hints or give them little touches on the shoulder or something. And they'll likely come to the total wrong conclusion and say that you cannot be flirting with them because no girl has ever flirted with me before. So therefore, it's not possible for her to be flirting with me now because historically speaking, that's never happened. So if anything, if you try to flirt with an ISTJ, you're actually going to make it so that they suspect your actions less because they're so used to being rejected in the past. So just tell the truth. Just be honest. Just say, hey, I like you. Just get it out in the open. Grow a spine. Whatever. Whatever you guys say that the ISTJ is lacking, they're not lacking. They're just too busy thinking about it. Now, on the plus side, they will not be like the INTJs, where they have decided they want to make a move. They're just too scared to do it because of their inferior sensing. ISTJs are just too busy being logical and trying to figure out what is the most practical course of action. So with that, I don't have too much more to say, only because I don't want to go too far into the realm of subjective speculation on this particular topic, because I have been in love before. I've been in a relationship, technically 2, but the last one only lasted 4 days, so that doesn't really count. And I would prefer to make a follow-up to this after I actually am in a relationship so that I can be more accurate in like, how did I pursue the girl and how did I act in love with her and all that. So I have no idea if such a thing's going to happen or not. It's really all going to depend on a variety of factors, but when it does, I'll be on board. Even if the girl's like, yeah, I'm camera shy, I don't want to do this. I'll just do a video by myself if I have to and just say, okay, fine, whatever. My ex-girlfriend did it, so if you want to see videos of her and me being more brave than you, be my guest. Is that insensitive? I don't know. I'll figure that out when I get there. So with that, thank you very much for watching. If you do want to know any answers, just let me know in the comments section. I'll answer them even if I don't have a girlfriend. And once I do, I'll make sure to... Probably won't let you guys know right away, to be honest. It did take a while for me to announce that I had broken up with Autumn, so it'll probably take a while for me to announce it again. But when it does, I'll find some way to announce it, even if it's like 3 months later. So with that being said, thank you for watching. Comment below with any questions, concerns, comments, or critiques. And until the next time, keep the faith, stay epic, God bless, and don't flirt. Just be honest. Bye.